Build a mind so strong that it does not beg for approval, does not panic under pressure, and does not collapse in confusion. A strong mind is not loud, aggressive, or arrogant. It is disciplined. It is governed. It is unshaken. Most people fear a strong mind because it cannot be manipulated, rushed, or emotionally controlled. The greatest battles in life are not fought in the streets, offices, or relationships. They are fought in the mind. Whoever controls the mind controls the direction of life. Weak minds react to circumstances. Strong minds respond with intention. Weak minds seek comfort. Strong minds pursue growth. Weak minds complain. Strong minds correct. A strong mind understands purpose. When purpose is clear, confusion has no authority. Many people are stressed not because life is heavy, but because their minds are untrained. They allow thoughts to wander without discipline, emotions to rule without leadership, and fear to speak louder than truth. A strong mind does not allow every thought to take residence. It evaluates, filters, and governs. People are disturbed by those who are calm in chaos, focused under pressure, and silent in provocation. Why? Because such a mind exposes disorder in others. A strong mind does not need to announce itself. Its stability speaks. Its consistency intimidates. Its restraint confuses those who live by impulse. To build a strong mind, you must first learn self-leadership. Discipline is not punishment, it is protection. When you discipline your mind, you protect your future. A strong mind chooses long-term reward over short-term pleasure. It understands that feelings are temporary, but decisions create destiny. A strong mind also embraces responsibility. It does not blame systems, people, or past experiences. It asks one question: what can I control? And it masters that. When you master your mind, you master your reactions. When you master your reactions, you master outcomes. Such a mind is not common, and that is why it scares people. It cannot be distracted by gossip, delayed by doubt, or defeated by failure. It learns, adapts, and advances. It is rooted in vision, anchored in values, and governed by purpose. Build a mind so strong that fear has no language in it. Build a mind so disciplined that chaos cannot rent space in it. Build a mind so clear that distractions expose themselves. And when you do, understand this: not everyone will celebrate your strength, because strong minds expose weak habits. But continue anyway. Your future depends on it. Mental strength is self-governance. It is the ability to rule your inner world before attempting to influence the outer one. Many people want control over situations, people, and outcomes, yet they have never mastered control over their own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. A strong mind does not wait for circumstances to become favorable. It governs itself regardless of what is happening around it. Self-governance is the foundation of stability, clarity, and power. Most chaos in life is not caused by external pressure, but by internal disorder. When thoughts run without direction and emotions operate without boundaries, life becomes unpredictable. A governed mind, however, operates with intention. It decides what thoughts are allowed to stay, what emotions are permitted to speak, and what reactions are appropriate. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means leading them. Leadership begins within. If you cannot lead your mind, you will be led by fear, anger, impulse, and insecurity. Self-governance requires discipline. Discipline is not restriction, it is direction. It teaches the mind to delay gratification, to remain focused when distractions multiply, and to stay calm when provoked. A disciplined mind does not react instantly. It pauses, evaluates, and then responds with wisdom. This pause is power. In that moment of restraint, control shifts from circumstance to consciousness. People who lack self-governance react emotionally and later regret intellectually. Strong minds reverse that order. A governed mind also understands responsibility. It does not waste energy blaming people, systems, or past experiences. Blame weakens mental authority because it transfers power outward. Responsibility strengthens the mind because it brings power back inward. When you accept responsibility for your thoughts and reactions, you reclaim ownership of your life. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you interpret it, and interpretation shapes reality. Mental self-governance produces emotional stability. Stability is often mistaken for coldness, but it is actually maturity. A strong mind feels deeply but is not controlled by feeling. It allows emotion to inform decisions, not dominate them. This balance creates consistency. Consistency builds trust in yourself and from others. People feel safe around someone whose mind is steady because unpredictability is exhausting. When the mind is governed, clarity emerges. Clarity eliminates confusion, and confusion is one of the greatest thieves of energy. Many people are tired not because they work hard, but because their minds are scattered. A governed mind focuses energy in one direction. It knows when to say no, when to be silent, and when to act. This clarity often intimidates others, especially those who live in emotional disorder, because it exposes their lack of control. Self-governance also builds resilience. A strong mind does not collapse under pressure, it adapts. It does not interpret failure as identity, but as information. Because it is not ruled by ego or emotion, it can learn, adjust, and advance. Pressure reveals governance. Under stress, the ungoverned mind panics while the governed mind prioritizes. To govern your mind is to become internally sovereign. No insult can overthrow you. No delay can destabilize you. No distraction can steal your focus without permission. This is true mental strength. It is quiet, steady, and unmovable. And that level of self-mastery is rare, which is why it is powerful. Clarity of purpose eliminates mental weakness because it gives the mind a fixed point of reference. A mind without purpose is vulnerable to confusion, distraction, and emotional instability. When a person does not know why they exist or what they are building toward, every opinion feels heavy, every obstacle feels personal, and every delay feels like failure. Purpose anchors the mind. It gives direction to thought, discipline to action, and meaning to struggle. Mental weakness is often mistaken for lack of intelligence or ability, but in reality, it is usually the absence of clear direction. A person can be talented, educated, and skilled, yet mentally fragile if their purpose is undefined. Without purpose, the mind chases comfort, validation, and approval. It becomes reactive instead of intentional. It moves based on mood rather than mission. Purpose corrects this disorder by giving the mind a governing vision. When purpose is clear, decision-making becomes easier. Many people are mentally exhausted because they negotiate every choice. They overthink, hesitate, and second-guess themselves because they have no internal compass. Purpose eliminates unnecessary debate. It answers the question before it is asked. Does this align with where I am going? If it does not, the mind releases it without guilt. This clarity protects mental energy and preserves focus. Purpose also strengthens the mind against pressure. Pressure reveals uncertainty. When purpose is unclear, pressure feels threatening because the person does not know what they are defending. But when purpose is defined, pressure becomes a test, not a threat. The mind understands what matters and what does not. Criticism loses power. Distraction loses appeal. Delay loses its ability to cause panic. A purpose-driven mind is selective, and selectivity is strength. Clarity of purpose builds emotional stability. Emotions often swing wildly when direction is missing. A person without purpose celebrates too quickly and collapses too easily. Purpose creates emotional regulation because it shifts focus from temporary outcomes to long-term impact. The mind learns patience. It understands that progress is not always visible and that timing is part of development. This perspective prevents despair during slow seasons and arrogance during successful ones. Purpose also eliminates comparison, which is one of the greatest sources of mental weakness. When people do not know their assignment, they become distracted by others' achievements. Comparison fragments the mind and breeds insecurity. But a clear purpose creates contentment with process. The mind stops asking, "Why not me?" and starts asking, "Am I aligned?" This shift restores confidence and concentration. A purposeful mind is resilient because it interprets adversity correctly. Challenges are no longer signs of failure, but confirmations of direction. Resistance often indicates relevance. A person with purpose does not quit easily, because quitting would require abandoning identity. Purpose ties effort to meaning, and meaning fuels endurance. This is why purpose-driven individuals can endure what emotionally driven people cannot. Clarity of purpose also intimidates others, not because it is loud, but because it is unmovable. People are unsettled by those who cannot be easily influenced, rushed, or distracted. A person who knows where they are going cannot be controlled by trends or manipulated by fear. Their calm exposes chaos. Their focus exposes confusion. Mental weakness thrives in uncertainty, but certainty rooted in purpose produces strength. When you know why you exist, your mind stops wandering and starts governing. Purpose does not remove difficulty, but it removes doubt. And a mind without doubt becomes disciplined, stable, and powerful. Discipline is the foundation of mental authority because it trains the mind to obey direction rather than desire. Without discipline, the mind becomes a servant to impulse, emotion, and convenience. With discipline, the mind becomes an instrument of purpose. Mental authority is not the ability to control others. It is the power to command your own thoughts, habits, and responses. Discipline establishes that command. Many people confuse discipline with punishment or limitation, but discipline is actually alignment. It aligns thoughts with values, actions with vision, and behavior with long-term goals. An undisciplined mind may be intelligent and gifted, yet unstable. It knows what is right, but lacks the strength to execute it consistently. Discipline closes the gap between intention and action. It transforms potential into reliability. Mental authority begins with small decisions repeated daily. The mind learns authority through consistency, not intensity. Getting up when you said you would, finishing what you started, resisting unnecessary distractions, and choosing focus over comfort may seem minor, but these actions teach the mind who is in charge. Over time, discipline conditions the mind to respect instruction. Once the mind respects instruction, it becomes strong under pressure. Discipline also governs emotion. Emotions are powerful signals, but they are poor leaders. An undisciplined mind allows emotion to dictate behavior, leading to regret and instability. A disciplined mind feels emotion but does not surrender to it. It pauses, evaluates, and chooses response. This pause creates authority. People who react instantly often feel powerful in the moment, but weak afterward. Discipline gives the mind control beyond the moment. Focus is another product of discipline. The modern world constantly competes for attention, and a distracted mind cannot be authoritative. Discipline trains the mind to stay on one task long enough to produce excellence. Authority grows where focus is sustained. When the mind learns to ignore noise and prioritize what matters, clarity and confidence follow. This is why disciplined individuals often appear calm and decisive even in complex situations. Discipline also builds trust within the self. Every time you follow through on a commitment, the mind records evidence of reliability. This internal trust strengthens confidence. Mental authority collapses when the mind doubts its own word. Inconsistency breeds self-sabotage. Discipline restores credibility between thought and action, and credibility is power. Pressure reveals whether discipline is real. When comfort is removed, only disciplined habits remain. An undisciplined mind collapses under pressure because it relies on motivation, which is temporary. A disciplined mind continues because it relies on structure. Structure outlasts emotion. This is why disciplined people are steady in chaos and productive in adversity. Discipline also protects energy. Mental exhaustion often comes from unmanaged habits, unnecessary decisions, and emotional reactions. Discipline simplifies life by removing excess. It sets boundaries, establishes routines, and eliminates waste. A protected mind has more strength to think clearly, decide wisely, and act deliberately. Mental authority is quiet but commanding. It does not announce itself. It is recognized. People sense when a mind is disciplined because it is stable, consistent, and unshakable. Discipline does not make life easier, but it makes the mind stronger. And a strong mind can handle any life. Responsibility strengthens psychological power because it returns authority to the individual. The moment a person accepts responsibility for their thoughts, reactions, and decisions, they reclaim control over their inner world. Psychological weakness often begins where responsibility ends. When people blame circumstances, people, or the past, they unconsciously surrender power. Responsibility reverses that surrender. It says, I may not control everything, but I control myself. And that awareness is the foundation of mental strength. Many people confuse responsibility with self-blame, but they are not the same. Blame focuses on guilt. Responsibility focuses on ownership. Blame weakens the mind by trapping it in regret or resentment. Responsibility strengthens the mind by activating problem solving and growth. A responsible mind asks better questions. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? It asks, what can I learn from this? That shift alone builds psychological resilience. Psychological power grows when a person stops outsourcing control. Every excuse is a silent agreement to remain powerless. When a person says they made me angry or this situation ruined me, they hand authority to something external. A responsible mind reframes the experience. It recognizes that emotions are responses, not commands. This awareness creates emotional sovereignty. You may feel pressure, disappointment, or frustration, but you decide how long it stays and how it shapes your behavior. Responsibility also sharpens self-awareness. A responsible person observes their patterns, triggers, and habits without denial. Self-awareness is uncomfortable, but it is empowering. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. Psychological power is built when a person has the courage to confront their own weaknesses honestly. This honesty is not self-condemnation, it is self-leadership. When responsibility becomes a mindset, growth accelerates. Responsible individuals do not wait for motivation or permission. They act because action aligns with who they are becoming. This proactive posture builds confidence. Confidence is not loud assurance, it is quiet certainty born from consistent ownership. Each time you take responsibility, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of navigating difficulty. Responsibility also stabilizes the mind during adversity. Life will always present obstacles, but a responsible mind does not become a victim of them. It adapts. Instead of asking for rescue, it looks for solutions. This solution-oriented thinking reduces anxiety because it replaces helplessness with agency. Psychological strength grows where agency is exercised. Interpersonal relationships also reflect the power of responsibility. Responsible people do not manipulate, deflect, or avoid accountability. They communicate clearly, admit mistakes, and correct behavior. This integrity builds respect and trust. Psychologically powerful people are not defensive because they are not fragile. They can accept correction without collapse because their identity is not threatened by feedback. Responsibility also eliminates bitterness. Bitterness thrives where people feel wronged and powerless. Responsibility dissolves bitterness by reframing pain as information rather than injustice. This does not excuse wrongdoing, but it prevents emotional imprisonment. A responsible mind chooses healing over hatred and growth over grievance. Ultimately, responsibility strengthens psychological power because it aligns the mind with reality. It teaches the individual that power does not come from controlling others, but from mastering oneself. When you accept responsibility, you stop waiting for life to change and start changing how you live. That shift transforms the mind from reactive to authoritative, and a mind that governs itself cannot be dominated. Silence and consistency intimidate more than noise because they reflect inner confidence and self-mastery. Noise often comes from insecurity, the need for validation, or the desire to be seen. Silence, on the other hand, suggests certainty. A silent person does not need to announce intentions, defend identity, or explain direction. This unsettles people who rely on constant expression to feel relevant. Silence removes access to your inner world, and what cannot be accessed cannot be controlled. Consistency amplifies this effect. Many people can speak well, promise boldly, and perform briefly. Very few can remain consistent over time. Consistency reveals discipline, clarity, and commitment. It exposes pretense. When someone consistently shows up, produces results, and behaves with integrity without drawing attention, it forces comparison. People are intimidated not by words, but by patterns they cannot dismiss. Noise creates momentary attention. Consistency creates credibility. A loud person may dominate a room for a moment, but a consistent person shapes the environment over time. Silence allows actions to speak, and actions, when repeated, become evidence. Evidence does not argue, it proves. This is why consistent individuals do not need to defend themselves. Their record does the talking. Silence also preserves energy. Constant explanation, argument, and self-promotion drain mental strength. A silent person chooses where to invest words. This selectivity reflects control. Control is intimidating because it signals that the person is not desperate for approval. They are governed by internal standards, not external applause. People sense this and often feel uneasy around it because it exposes their own need to be seen. Consistency builds psychological pressure without confrontation. When someone continues to grow, improve, and advance quietly, it disrupts expectations. Others wait for explanation, reaction, or justification, but none comes. This lack of response creates discomfort. Silence denies emotional access, and consistency denies excuses. Together, they form a powerful presence that does not need to be aggressive to be dominant. Noise often attempts to force influence. Silence allows influence to emerge naturally. When people speak less and do more, observers begin to watch closely. Attention shifts from words to results. Results demand respect. This is why silence, paired with consistency, often earns leadership without asking for it. Authority follows reliability. Silence also protects focus. Those who speak excessively are often distracted by response. They react to opinions, criticisms, and praise. A silent person remains centered. Consistency requires focus, and focus requires restraint. This restraint is visible. It communicates strength, patience, and long-term vision. People are unsettled by those who are not easily distracted or provoked. In a culture addicted to visibility, silence feels like rebellion. In a world that celebrates speed, consistency feels threatening. Most people quit, shift direction, or seek recognition too early. Those who remain silent and consistent reveal endurance. Endurance is rare. Rarity creates intimidation. Silence and consistency also eliminate the need for confrontation. There is no argument to win because there is no argument offered. There is no image to defend because results speak. This composure unsettles those who rely on drama, conflict, or comparison. A steady presence becomes a mirror, reflecting instability in others without saying a word. Ultimately, silence and consistency intimidate more than noise because they represent mastery. They signal that a person is not seeking attention but building substance. Not everyone will understand this approach, and not everyone will appreciate it. But strength does not seek approval. It remains focused, steady, and quiet. And that quiet strength speaks louder than any noise.